Hi everyone. So today we're working on a section of block 2 of the Angels block of the month with the Tula Pink fabric. And we're going to be working on this block right here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and I'll just set it over, hopefully, hide my head in the way. There we go. Right over there. So we want to make sure we have our tools ready for what we're going to need. And we're going to need our 4.5-inch square up ruler. You could use a bigger ruler and find the 4.5-inch settings or markings, or to me it's easier to have a 4.5-inch ruler because we use the 4.5 a lot. And your roller press, your rotary cutter, and you notice I just use a small one. When I'm just cutting and trimming my fabrics for my blocks, I don't need a great big rotary cutter. This one is fine. So I need those. I need a cutting surface. And if you have a mat that spins around, makes it that much easier. Okay, and also the pieces for the block. Probably the most important part, pieces for the block. And you will have a matching set, a left and a right, for each of these. So it'll go together this way. Okay? And what we want to do is we want to flip one side first, so that, and then we'll do the other side. Now you have 4 blocks to do, but what I always do is I complete units, we'll call them units. You have 4 units to do, and what I always do is I complete 1 unit just to make sure I'm doing it right, and then after that, you could chain piece the rest, so that you would put all the right side, left side, whichever it is, on all of them, and then come back and do the other side on all of them. So you just make a pile of lefts, rights, and your triangle. So when we get started, make sure your pieces are pressed. If you're going to press them with the iron, which I normally don't think you should, these are bias edges here. That means that they'll stretch a lot. So if you have to get a wrinkle out, just put your iron straight down, and we'll do a little of that pressing after we get this unit made. So what I want to do, and I have to turn it towards me so I can see, is I want to start on the left or the right, and I always want to be the same. So in this case, I'm going to turn this around this way, because if you notice our units, the long side is facing in, so it might be easier visually for you to do it this way. Whatever's easier for you. You want to start on the left, start on the left. You want to start on the right, start on the right. I'm going to go ahead and start on the right. And what I want to do is, now we have our little dog ears already cut off. So this edge, and let me just hold it up so you can see. This edge matches this edge. So we don't have to worry about those pointy triangles like, oh, that one's cut off too, but a little pointy triangle coming out. So we're going to match the edge shape, and we're going to match the edge shape. Okay, so I just want to get on here, and again, I don't want to be fiddling around too much with my fabric, fiddling or fussing, whichever word you want to use, because these are bias edges, and you'll start to stretch them. So we hopefully, if we have to unsew or pick it out, we want to be extra careful. So we're going to make sure we try to get it right the first time. And if you need a pin, I'll allow you 1 pin. How's that? So you'll have 1 pin. Okay? I always say put a pin in so you know which side you're sewing on. In this case, there shouldn't be any confusion of which side you're sewing on. But one pin is all you're getting. Okay? I know you're home. You can do what you want. But remember, I'm watching you. So let's go ahead and sew. So I have my machine set up. So I have the Baby Lock Solaris, and a lot of the Baby Locks have what they call piecing stitches. On the Solaris, Destiny, Elissimo, you have a tab called the Q tab. That's for quilting, Q for quilting. And I use Q3, I believe it is. Let me double check. No, sorry, Q2. And if you look through, if you have the Aventure or one of those, if you look through your stitches, you'll see some straight stitches with a little letter P, P for in piecing. You'll see the little letter P, and one of those straight stitches will be just a tad to the right of center. And if you're using your J foot, that's the one you would use. You do not want to use that if you're using the single hole quilting foot with the guide. So you have to pick which one you like. And, try them both, I say. And try them a few times and see which one works for you. Whatever works for you. If you want to put in a little seam guide here, we have seam guides, different types of seam guides at the store that stick on in that. And so you can choose any of those things. Also on your bobbin cover, you see that 1/4 inch mark. I'm going to be just to the left of that 1/4 inch because I really want to have a scant 1/4 inch. A little less is better because we can always square it up afterwards. So we want to make sure that there's fabric under the needle. And I'm watching the edge of my foot. I don't need to watch the needle. Once the fabric is at the needle, it's too late to do anything about. You notice when I take my pin out, I'm holding my fabric. I'm just not going to yank the pin out and move my fabric around. I want to just double check that both of my fabrics are lined up along this edge, and I'm still lined up at the bottom. Okay, so now we'll go back to the work table. So here's my sewn piece, and I'm just going to keep the small piece on top so that the seam allowance goes out with the smaller piece of fabric. And I'm just going to lightly press that with my finger, and then go ahead and use my wooden roller to put that down. Now, the reason why we're pressing out is if we press both seams in, they would be overlapping at the top and you'd have a big bunch there. So we don't want to have that. So now we want to go ahead and put the other side on. And again, we're just going to match things up. And try to do it so you can see too. So we're just matching up our ends. I'm going to twirl this around so I can make sure I'm actually matched up. Don't make the mistake of being too short up on this top edge. You want to make sure you're lined up with your other fabrics, okay? And our one pin. And then we're going to go ahead and sew this one. Okay, so we'll go back to sewing. So again, I put my foot down, but I'm going to reach on, you can see my hands right here, and lift my foot a little bit so that I make sure that I have fabric. Oops. I'm trying to do this around the camera. I want to make sure I have fabric under the needle. And I'm lined up with my foot. And for me to get the scant 1/4 inch, you see where the metal part comes out here? Well, my fabric is right in the middle. It's just a little left of the edge of the foot. Okay, we'll go back to the work table. Okay, and again, we're going to have I call this the border fabric on top. Just open it up, give it a little press, and there we are. And if we look on the back, you see how neat that is. And so there's no bunching there. Okay, so let me see if I can I want to get this little thread out of the way because I want to show you when you go to join your units together, when you sew across here, you should be coming right where those two seams meet and coming straight across. So you can see that you have that 1/4 inch, see? You have a 1/4 inch of fabric before this point so that you want to be right along that edge. Will your points always be perfect? Probably not, but you always want to try for your best. So I want to look at this now, and now I like to trim on these blocks as I go, because if my 4.5 is not 4.5, it's a little bigger or a little crooked, then my block's going to be crooked. So whenever I'm going to trim, I do try to press, and I try to press carefully. Now, our bias seams or bias edges are now trapped because they're sewn together. Now out here is all straight edges. So this mat, which is great, and you can ask the store about, anyone at the store about, tell them that you're in the block of the month, you watch the video, and you want to know what the special is. It also comes with a little pressing mat. So I get my iron. So when I press, this is all I'm doing. I'm pressing. I'm not ironing, I'm just pressing. So if you have your bigger iron, you probably just set your iron down and it'll take up the whole block. But I just want to make sure it's nice and flat, especially along these edges. And so you can even rotate around. So if you have 4 of them spread out here, you can just rotate around and iron on each one. So now I'm just going to check with my ruler. And I have, so I want to make sure that I've got a line that's like going straight down, so I can see a little dashed line. I know you won't be able to see it in the camera, but you'll be able to see it when you're in person. And I just have some little pieces, so let me see if they show on the camera. Can you see that little edge sticking out right there? So I just have a couple little edges like that to trim off. And I can come across the top. Then I can just turn to the other side. Oh, I guess I want to be this way. And I've got a little piece there. So you can see I just have some little whispers of fabric. Now, I didn't get my little edge off because apparently I wasn't being strong enough. So let me just put that on again. There we go. So that was about it. So like I said, do a scant 1/4 inch because you're always better off to trim it down than try to make up for not having enough. So if you're off a lot, remember you're doing one whole one of these first before you do the other 3. If you're off, carefully unpick and make your seams a little skimpier. Every person is different. Every day you sew is different. So don't fret about it. Just work at getting it right and you'll be happy. So if this unit is right, then when you put all your units together to make your block, then your block will be right. So have a great time doing this month's block, and we'll see you for next month. And next month, you'll have it easy. Just applique. We'll see you soon.